Donald Trump had a rally in New York today, in Long Island specifically, because he truly believes that he has a shot in New York, which is just as delusional as it gets. But there were a couple of moments in this rally that really raised an eyebrow, just very egregious lies or very strange things to say. So I have some clips from this rally to show you. We'll talk about them a little bit. Let's take a look at the first clip, shall we? So here's the first clip I want to show you, and in this video, Donald Trump tries to claim that Kamala Harris is actually the threat to democracy, and he's not. He really said this with a straight face, and his audience cheered. It's insane. Take a look.
Let me also deliver a message straight to Kamala Harris, the radical left Democrat politicians, and the fake news media. Look how many are there.
They boo like this for a long time.
We've got to get our media back in this country. We've got to get them back. But the message is it's time to stop the lies, stop the hoaxes, stop the smears, stop the lawfare and the fake lawsuits against me, and stop claiming your opponents will turn America into a dictatorship. Give me a break. Because the fact is that I'm not a threat to democracy, they are.
Wow. And look at all the supporters. They go wild when he says that. Two main things I want to talk about here. Number one, Donald Trump is absolutely the threat to democracy in this race, and he's kind of just projecting here, hoping that people won't remember the terrible things he's done. You know, like trying to overturn an election he didn't win, inciting an insurrection on January 6th, denying the results of a free and fair election, not only in 2020, but in the Republican primary in 2016. And he's even said things like he'll pay for the legal fees of his supporters if they assault protesters against him. He calls the January 6th insurrectionists patriots. This guy is the threat to democracy. And by the way, the idea that he's not going to be a dictator on day one and that he doesn't want to be, and that he's just saying, oh, they're just making that up, is just so funny to me because he literally said that. Donald Trump said in his own words that he'll be a dictator on day one. So he says this, and then he's shocked when the Democrats point out that he wants to be a dictator and that he has dictatorial tendencies and has exhibited those tendencies for quite some time now. It's so remarkable and childish that this is what Donald Trump is running with. He's saying, well, I'm not the threat to democracy. They are. When we all have eyes. We all have eyes. And the second thing I want to talk about here is just the other day, J.D. Vance, Donald Trump's running mate, was saying, oh, we have to bring down the temperature. The Democrats and the Republicans have to stop calling each other threats to democracies, fascists, dictators, all of that stuff. And then Donald Trump is doing this. He's calling Kamala Harris a threat to democracy, and CNN actually put together a clips of Donald Trump doing this exact very thing in a segment that they ran the other day. It's just really funny. You got to see it. Take a look.
Look, we can disagree with one another, we can debate one another, but we cannot tell the American people that one candidate is a fascist, and if he's elected, it is going to be the end of American democracy.
That's what Donald Trump just did, by the way, but let's continue.
Except here is Vance's actual running mate saying exactly that.
It's a choice between communism and freedom. This is communist, this is Marxist, this is fascist. This is a radical left Marxist, communist, fascist. She's a Marxist, she's a fascist. Comrade Kamala Harris. Comrade Kamala Harris. If Comrade Kamala Harris gets 4 more years, you will be living a full-blown banana republic ruled by an anarchy and a tyranny. They're scum. They're scum. And they want to take down our country. They are absolute garbage.
So just another example of Donald Trump and J.D. Vance not being on quite the same page. You know, Trump is at a rally saying, oh, you know, the Kamala Harris is a threat toward democracy. And J.D. Vance is at another rally saying, oh, we shouldn't be calling each other that. It's so pathetic. Look, Donald Trump is the actual threat to democracy. We know this, and being honest about that isn't harmful. What is harmful is lying about that and calling people threats to democracy when they're not. There are plenty of Republicans out there who I'm not saying is a threat to democracy. I don't think that Mitt Romney is a threat to democracy. I don't think that Liz Cheney is a threat to democracy. But, Donald Trump and the Republicans have to project. They have to put their issues onto other people, hoping that the American people will just buy into it. Anyway, nonsense. So here's the next clip I want to show you. Very, very strange. As the first one was, let's just have a look here as well.
They're doing things in politics that have never been done before in the history of our country. And worst of all, with their open borders and bad elections, they have made us into a third world nation, something which nobody thought was even possible. Americans deserve a campaign based on the issues. We try and keep it on the issues.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Donald Trump says that the American people deserve a campaign based on the issues. I agree. But that's not the campaign he's running. It's the campaign that Kamala Harris is running. By the way, this is the Trump campaign, which he says are running on the issues. Just the other day saying, I hate Taylor Swift on Truth Social. What issue is that exactly? What does this solve? What policy position is this? Donald Trump just hating yet another successful woman who doesn't like him? That's the policy position? Oh, well, maybe this is a policy position. The fact that Donald Trump continues to talk about Hannibal Lecter. What policy position comes from that? What issue is being resolved by him talking about that? Or what about when he's talking about boats sinking with batteries and sharks and whether he'd be on the boat with the battery or the shark in the water? What about that? Does that solve any issues? Is that Donald Trump focusing on the issues? It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Donald Trump is really trying to take the moral high ground here, saying that he's the sophisticated candidate in this race. Yet he's talking about fictional movie characters and pop stars that he doesn't like. Whereas Kamala Harris is doing none of those things. She's exclusively focusing on policy. That's the entire Harris campaign. Talking about things that matter to the American people. Housing, grocery prices, inflation, climate change, reproductive rights. That's the Harris campaign. The Trump campaign is that of fictional characters and utter nonsense and election lies. Give me a break that he's focusing on the issues. They try to keep it on the issues. Didn't know that disliking Taylor Swift was an issue that mattered to the American people these days. So absurd. The last clip I want to show you here is so ironic for a couple of reasons, which we're going to talk about in just a second. But just have a look.
New York State will be like a third world nation if it isn't already. It is. I think it is.
Okay.
With Trump, the Empire State will once again be the envy of the entire world.
This is a typical Trump line that any state or city that doesn't like him is a third world nation. So it's always been like New York and California, or just generally Democratic states. Chicago, for example. He says that this city and this state is a hellhole. It's a third world nation, or the state as a whole is a terrible place. He targets these three main Democratic states. And I just find this line of attack specifically interesting because, number one, we all know that all of these states, New York, Illinois, California, are great places. They're gorgeous. They're beautiful, right? But specifically his attacks on New York, it's just funny because, Barron Trump, his kid, is going to NYU in New York. This third world country, Trump is sending his kid to college there in this third world country. And also his wife is living there. Melania Trump, she's living at Trump Tower in New York City right now. This third world nation, which is so terrible, has so much crime and all of this nonsense that Donald Trump makes up. His family is living in this apparent third world nation. So maybe the actual conclusion here is that, Donald Trump doesn't actually think it's a third world nation. He's just using it as a campaign talking point. And we shouldn't be voting for people who use American cities as a campaign talking point, especially when he's attacking those American cities when his own family lives there, where he has a bunch of real estate. Give me a break. Give me a break. You know what's a terrible place to live? You know what's an awful place? Mar-a-Lago. You step within Mar-a-Lago, you get within 100 feet, you're going to have to hire yourself a lawyer. You might have witnessed a crime. That's what happens at Mar-a-Lago. So anyway, that's the Trump rally. Nonsense as always. He just wrapped it up. It's terrible. It's always garbage with Donald Trump. It's never anything serious. It's never focusing on the issues. It's never talking about policy or substance or anything of the sort. It's always just personal insults, rants, conspiracy theories, and lies. Just like we saw from Donald Trump tonight in New York. Kamala Harris is out there talking to voters. Donald Trump is doing whatever the hell that was. So anyway, I just wanted to show you these clips and talk about them a little bit. I will leave the video there. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe. It really helps and goes a really long way. Also drop a like on the video and comment. Let me know what you think about all this. I always love hearing from you all. And look, as I always say, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I really appreciate you.